Well, good afternoon and welcome to PenSports Podcast. This is Frank Edgar.
I'm Wube Gabray.
And we got our producer here, Randy Bagoli. Good to have you on board with us this week. Exciting week in high school sports here, Wube, on the peninsula.
Getting down that stretch, Frank, towards regional, sectional, state in some sports. So this is the most exciting time of the year, especially in the winter sports.
It really is. And we've already had a regional tournament. We had it yesterday at Poquoson High School in boys wrestling. And the Poquoson Bull Islanders really had a championship day yesterday.
10 titles, Frank, in the Class A2 region.
Yeah, there's 14 weight classes.
And they had 10 out of the 14.
10 first, 2 seconds, and a third. So that's in 13 classes they were present. Coach Eric Decker out there at Poquoson should be mighty proud of his team. They head off to Salem, Virginia later this month. It's the 16th and 17th of February down in Salem and for the state tournament. And they're led by a couple familiar names. If you're following wrestling here on the peninsula, the McCormick brothers, Cole McCormick and Patrick McCormick at 120 and 126. And, of course, the football player Colton Hicks won a state title at 170. And a young man who's got plenty of relatives here on the peninsula, Mason Fasella at 195. But what a list. If you go to the Daily Press and look at the list of finals, just an outstanding day for Bull Island in the wrestling. Well, we've got some other great sports going on that we don't talk about a lot, but we should. The track this year, Wube, is outstanding, and a couple of young freshmen featured in the paper the other day.
Yeah, I was looking at the other day. We got some great young talent, like we mentioned last week on the PenSports Podcast here, Frank. Jordan Hardy from out of Hampton, she's a freshman. Ryan Hines from York. I mean, it's just amazing to see these young kids just doing a great job as freshmen, just stepping in and making their mark.
Well, the Hampton Crabbers sprinter, Alea Armstrong, and then Janelle Saunders over at Phoebus having terrific freshman seasons for their respective programs. So, again, lots of good stuff going on at the Boo Williams track facility out there in indoor track.
And let me mention Jelani Davis. She's a two-sport athlete. She plays basketball at Bethel. She had the best mark in the girls' shot put at the Virginia Showcase in the 5A division. So, again, love to see the two-sport athletes excelling at one sport. Everybody says, they needed to pick one sport. Have fun, play as many sports as you can, and be versatile.
You sound like Cal Ripken. He preaches that as well. Play all the sports you can. And, of course, you and I are very fond of Jelani Davis, having called several of her games out at Bethel High School, and just very impressed with that young lady. And then while we're talking about girls basketball, my goodness, we had great teams around here. Hampton High, I've got to see Hampton High play Shonda Bailey's team on Friday night. She does a great job. She's got a lot of athletes out there. Hampton beat Menchville at home Friday night. And then the Lady Crabbers came right back, played yesterday. I believe it's 4:30 over at Deep Creek in that special tournament over there, and they got another win. So they're going to be hard to knock out of a tournament going into the states here.
And they're going to be on LSC this week against Phoebus, who, again, I saw Phoebus play Bethel. The outstanding sophomore Diamond Johnson scored 28 points in that game. They ended up coming back and winning over Bethel. So, Coach Bailey has already said she's seen her twice. She scored 51 on one game they played at the Boo Sportsplex. So we'll see if they can contain her, not stop her, and see what they can do this week against Phoebus. I mean, she's averaging 33 points a game. So, Coach Bailey has her hands full.
Well, we talked about her several times already. We get to see her in person this week, and you'll see that, ladies and gentlemen, if you follow us on at LSC 48. That game, we'll be broadcasting that, recording that this coming week, and then showing that later in the week. Speaking of girls basketball, one team around this area has only got one loss, and that's the Tabb Tigers.
Yeah, Coach Jason Clarke over at Tabb is doing a great job. And we talked to Coach Woolham at Lafayette on the boys' side, and now another BRD, Bay Rivers District team, the Tabb girls basketball team is doing awesome. I mean, they're undefeated in the district, and they're getting ready for that 3A playoff run against maybe Phoebus. They went to the state corners last year, so you got to give them a lot of credit, doing a great job.
Well, we're going to talk to the coach of the Tabb Tigers. We got Jason Clarke with us. Jason, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Hey, we want to first congratulate you on your, third Bay Rivers District title in 4 years?
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, Jason, tell us a little bit about your history there at Tabb.
Sure. I finished I coached in college for a little while, and then I came back to Tabb. It was about 2007, I think, when I started helping out again. I've had all kinds of roles: assistant coach, JV coach, middle school coach, and I took over the head coaching job 4 years ago.
Well, in those 4 years, you won 3 division titles or 3 district titles?
Yeah, so we won. We didn't win last year. War Hill won it last year, but the other 3 seasons we've been able to
Very impressive.
win it.
Hey, Coach, I'm always intrigued by how other teams within their program kind of feed off of the success of other teams in your school. Talk a little bit about how that transfers over to your program with the field hockey team doing so well and all the other sports doing well.
Well, I think it's funny. We talk about that, and we try to learn from what they do and the culture that they have. And the field hockey team has been successful. They have a very strong culture, player-driven culture, and so we tried to adopt some of those things and try to mimic some of those things in our program as well.
Well, it's been very successful, obviously, over there at Tabb. Now you've got you had a nice write-up on you in the paper on Friday. Tell us a little bit about these players that were really, I think the community is just getting to know these names like Bree Harper and Kenna Williams.
Yeah, Bree and Kenna have been with me. I was their middle school coach, and they've come up with me all the way. So I've been coaching them a long time, but they really have been getting better and better, and it's really flourishing this year. It's a tough combo when you got a good guard. Bree's an excellent guard. She's been starting for me for 4 years. She has 1,000 points in her career, and she can go to the basket. She can shoot it. She's a tough cover. And you got Kenna, who's going to probably grab her 1,000th rebound either tomorrow or real soon in her career, and is really doing much better on the offensive end now, scoring in double figures. Averaging about 14 points a game. So they're both going to go play in college next year. So that's exciting for them and for our program too. So.
Well, what other players are providing help to those two to get you where you are now? You 15-1 overall?
17-1.
17-1.
Yeah. So we've had some players really step up. We lost 2 really good seniors last season. Another 1,000-point scorer, our point guard, who handled the ball a lot, and another really good guard. And so we've had to have some players step up and take their role, and so we had Avery Bunting, who's a junior, who's really stepped up and improved her ball handling, and has been able to really help us in that area and slash into the basket. She's a really good penetrator. We got Danielle Bennett, who's our, shooting, averaging about 10 points a game and shooting about 33% from behind the arc. So she's definitely a threat, and you got to be worried about her. So she's, stepped up big in that role. And then we got a real versatile young lady who's about 5'10", Janae Saylor, and she can guard inside out. She can, play inside out. She likes to face the basket. And so, those ones have really, stepped up their game this year and filled bigger roles than they had to in the past.
Well, now, Wube made a nice point before we got on the air today. You're in Division III, so you may, in the playoffs, face this young lady down at Phoebus. Have you had a chance to see her play yet?
That's right. Yes, I have seen her play a few times. It's very dynamic, very quick. Inside out. I mean, she can shoot from her range is unlimited, and she can take it to the basket too. So she's a tough cover, but we hope we get to face them. We hope we get to advance in the playoffs and face some of those good teams.
Well, Coach, last year you did advance. You made it to the state quarters, and with your team already clinching the Bay Rivers, how do you keep your team focused, moving on and try to get to that point where you got last year?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a unique situation for us. We have, with 3 games, regular season games left, but they know what's coming. They know the games are going to get, the playoff intensity is going to get higher. And we're trying to get prepared for that with these last 3 games and ramping up our intensity and ramping up our practices and getting ready for that playoff fever.
Well, it sounds like, you've certainly been there before, so we look forward to watching Tabb have a good deep run this year in the playoffs. Jason, I want to thank you for joining us today, and look forward to getting out and seeing your team play during the playoffs.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks, Coach. We appreciate it.
Jason Clarke with Tabb High School. Thank you, Coach Clarke.
All right, we are now joined by a Bethel High legend, Frank, Mr. Tony Rutland, who is the head coach over at Hampton Christian. Tony, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate you having me.
Now, I want to know, are you getting any royalty checks from LSC with all the games we're showing and all the requests we get for those games, man?
I wish, because all I know is everybody's hitting me and saying, hey, they showing your old games. And, when I was in Atlanta, I couldn't catch them. But, now I'm here. I'm able to catch them every time they're on. So it's always good to see them. And, I appreciate, just watching those games.
Well, is there any truth to the rumor that you carry a Sharpie with you to sign the little VHS tapes you're getting from LSC?
No, I wish. If I did, then I probably gonna have to give y'all some checks.
Well, Tony, piggybacking off of that, as I said before, you're a legend around here. How do you get your kids to buy into what you did back then? Do you ever mention those days as a player to kind of get them on track, to get them to get where you need them to be?
I do sometimes, but I try not to. I really just try to give them a blueprint of what to do so it'll be easy for them. A lot of these players nowadays, they don't study film. They don't watch a lot of the tape of them messing up or watching what they could do better for the next game. And that's one thing that my dad really taught me is studying film and knowing my opponent, knowing my mistakes, so, I can see if that situation comes about in the next game that I know what to do. But as far as me, I get with my assistant coaches and, I give them a lot of tape to watch, and I try to, instill that in the players and try to make it easy for them. And that goes for high school and EYBL. Anytime we can make it easy for them, then, I'll be able to do it.
Well, Tony, it looks like you're having a pretty good season. 15-8 is what I've got on you. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
I mean, we're young. I have one senior, Evan T-Bay. He's pretty solid, a great leader. He came from Bishop Sullivan last year, halfway through the season, and he's been doing really well. His brothers they're twins. They're able to play this year as freshmen, so that's just an added plus for them. And but other than that, I have one senior and a couple of juniors, and pretty much sophomores and freshmen. So it's been real tough. But it's actually been a good growing process because, the future is bright.
Tony, are you seeing any signs where some of the local players are migrating to Hampton Christian because of your presence there now?
It is. But, it's just, it's one of those difficult things where, I think a lot of parents would love for them to come to Hampton Christian, but with us being a private school and having tuition, it's just one of those difficult things. We don't have scholarships, but we do some things that's off of the tuition, but it's tough, so I try to find a way to get kids access to some type of assistance to help them, but other than that, we're growing, and I see the demand and, the parents wanting to be coached, want their kids to be coached and stuff like that. But, it's just it's good and it's bad because just like I said, you go from not paying anything at a public school to having a tuition. But, the ones that do invest, they get a lot out of it.
Now, Coach, I know you're helping, Boo's team out a lot with the EYBL league, and I noticed you have two high-level players actually going to college, in Keldon Johnson and Jason Wade.
Well, and the crazy part about it, we got Keldon Johnson, Jason Wade, and actually Keontae Johnson, who's going to Florida. I've been working with them all summer on their shots and stuff that, they need to work on to get to the next level. I actually just talked to Keldon about certain things that, they're having a great season, but I'm still on him about working on things to get him over the edge as far as becoming a standout player. When he goes to Kentucky, he's just going to be a regular guy. While he's at Oak Hill, he's a standout. But when he goes to Kentucky, everybody there are going to be athletes that can score and get to. I said he needs to develop something that's going to make him a standout guy, and that's what we talked about a lot. During the off season now through text and stuff like that, and as well as Keontae Johnson. Yeah,
speaking of Oak Hill, there's an alumni, from that school that's over in Norfolk in Junior Barrow. Talk about him, another ACC rival coming back to the area and coaching over there.
Yeah, we actually had a great battle this year. We lost them by one in double overtime, actually, and one of their guys, I think it's the coach's son from Old Dominion, I believe, hit a shot with probably like a couple of seconds left. But, it's just one of those things that, if the kids don't understand the history, which a lot of them don't because, they're just into what's going on now. I don't really go back too much on what I did and what I can do. I just kind of try to help them just look forward and trying to be better for themselves. But, just to pick brains of guys like myself and Junior Burrows and Stephon Welsh, who's at Woodside, those type of guys, if a player were to just sit down and just talk and listen, they'll become better players on and off the court.
Well, Coach, you're headed into the last 4 or 5 games of your regular season, then you've got the Metro Conference tournament. What does your team have to do better to make it deep in these tournaments?
We have to mature. Like I said, we're still young, and I don't think we've played a full 4 quarters, but maybe one game, and that was against Christ Chapel, which they were like the number 3 team in our division in the state, and we happened to beat them. But I think for us it's just buying into the system and not making the same mistakes as we made in the beginning of the year. I think now we have to mature, and I can't just say, hey, we're still young. I can't use that as an excuse. So I think just maturing and just doing this, just playing all 4 quarters and listen to details. I think, once they listen to details, I think everything will go good.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time, and when a lot of these young kids don't understand how much excitement you brought to this area back in high school, and it looks like you're doing the same thing over there in Hampton Christian. You do it in a humble way, and we appreciate what you're doing for the community as well. And we're gonna catch you down the road.
Oh, no problem. And anytime you need me, anything that comes up, I'm available. I definitely would love to stay on the show and do whatever I can to help, no matter what. And Q&A, whatever it needs to be done, just let me know, and I'm there.
Thanks so much, Coach. We'll get you down the road around the EYBL season, which is coming up with late April.
No problem. And, if I can get a couple of guys from the team to come in and as well as help with your Cavs, I definitely will get them in.
And I'll make sure those checks are in the mail, Coach, for them royalties. Okay, Coach?
No problem.
All right, Coach. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right.
That was head coach Tony Rutland of the Hampton Christian squad over there. Great guy, Frank. Just like I told him, and as much excitement as he brought, I would hope that these kids got a chance to listen to what he has to say, and he's bringing excitement over there, and he does it in a humble approach. Just a great guy overall.
Well, we're very fortunate we had him on as a guest on our football coverage about a year ago, I
Yeah.
think, when he first came back from Atlanta, and just thrilled to have him back in the area. And I do hope young people will go out and see Hampton Christian play and see Tony Rutland in coaching action. I think he brings a lot to our community and certainly the right spirit for this area. Speaking of spirit, I wanted to mention something. My former teammate, Wayne Sleepy Lynch of the great Lynch family in Hampton, brought to my attention that he's helping to organize a Unity in the Community March and Rally to End Gun Violence. That's going to be March 3rd over at Darling Stadium in Hampton. So I'm sure there's something online about that. If not, contact Wayne Sleepy Lynch on Facebook about the Unity in the Community March. That's something that you and I both support.
Absolutely. It's a great event, and it's something that we all need to take a look at and try to help out as much as we can. And, like you said, Pastor Swan, I think, is going to try do something similar to that, former Crabber. And he has a church over in Newport News. So, it's great to see people come together and do an event like this.
Well, those two guys we mentioned, Sleepy and Kevin Swan, both, really trying to improve our area here on the peninsula and both doing something about it. And I appreciate that. I did get word just now that Javon Rodriguez from the Hampton Crabbers is committed to Elizabeth City State University.
Yeah, they've picked up a few guys from this area. I know a couple. I think Keyshawn Storm from Bethel also signed there, and a couple guys from over in the South Side. So they're hitting this area pretty strong.
That's good. And I did want to mention our friend Matt Hatfield. Matt, always very helpful when Wube and I need some information. But I got to listen to his show yesterday. It's another good way to keep up with high school sports. His is a state coverage show, and you really learn about what's going on all around the state. But Matt and Coach Ed Young do that 10 to noon on ESPN Radio, Wube, and hopefully we'll get Matt on.
Yeah, hopefully. He's my 411. You know what I mean? I go to him all the time if I can't find some information that I need. And, he does cover the whole state. We're PenSports. We focus on the peninsula. But, him and Ed do a great job on Saturdays. I always catch them when I can. I try to catch them as much as I can. So, hopefully he can be a fan of our show as well. And
I tell you, the game of the week I think this week was Hampton Menchville Friday night at the Crabbers Gym. It was just an entertaining game. Hampton wins at 56-53, but they had to survive about a half-court three-pointer that rimmed out there at the buzzer, or we would have gone into extra basketball. Saw our friend Wayne Gomes out there. It was a good crowd. They had the band, both sets of cheerleaders. Just a marvelous youth sport event.
Yeah, I mean, Wayne's been catching a lot of these games, and you said how you really like to see. It was a really good high school game, great comeback. I think a shot at the buzzer would have had a chance to win or tie it.
Tie it, yeah.
So, we're looking forward to seeing, Hampton play Phoebus this week.
Yep, and that's going to be a good one. Hampton Phoebus at Phoebus this week. And finally, we want to say goodbye to our friend Kate Yanchulis from the Daily Press. Kate's been here now just over 3 years. She has been an excellent sports reporter in our community. She has really gotten into some sports that weren't covered that in detail before. She's allowed the Daily Press to expand its coverage of high school sports. She's leaving. She's going to the Povich Center at the University of Maryland, which is her alma mater. But we're going to miss you, Kate. Thanks for everything.
Yeah, she's going to be truly missed. She was great. Another one of our resources, so to speak. We'd always go to her whenever we needed some information or some more information. She's going back home. You can't fault her for that. That's where she's from. So I'm sure she's going to do great things up there like she did down here.
Well, I've always told her I thought the Post would come looking for her. She's such a terrific writer. The Daily Press does a great job. Thanks to everybody over there. We hope to bring you Marty O'Brien sometime. He's got his hands full now covering the peninsula. He and Dave Johnson and all our friends over at the Press.
Yeah.
Follow us now on Twitter at PenSportsPod, PenSportspod, and you can get us by Gmail at PenSportsPodcast@gmail.com. And you can get the show at YouTube at PenSports Podcast. Want to thank our producer, Randy Begoli, doing a great job for us. And again, hope you can get out to some of these games. This is high season for winter sports, so get out to the gyms.
Yeah, it's getting, like I said earlier, it's getting down that stretch run. Playoffs are starting up, regionals. We talked about wrestling, track. Swimming is coming around on the regional and state part of their season. So, get out there and support.
We're going to get one of those swimming coaches on here soon because I want to hear a little bit about that. There's a lot of great swimming down here, always has been, and we want to hear about that. All right, thanks for listening this week to PenSports Podcast. We'll see you next week.